Hello, everyone. My name is Maggie, and I wanted to thank you all for subscribing to my second channel. Ladies and gentlemen, because of your incredible support and your incredible love for this channel, we have hit the grand total of 5 subscribers. I know, right? It's an amazing milestone, it's an amazing accomplishment, and thank you for, enjoying these shorts that I'm done, enjoying all the Premier League content that I'm doing. Most of them are soccer, most of them are football, most of them are college football. I'm doing like all over the place, but keeping the sports, winning the sports channel, of course, and my other channel, which is growing just by the minute or by the day, my League of Legends channel is on the description below if you wanted to go through. So, like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. And now it is time for us to look at the Premier League results from match day 4. Is it 4? Yes, I think it's 4. And let's be honest, it has been a weird weekend. It has been a weird weekend to be honest. Stranger Things weekend, if you wanted to call it. I'm probably going to put that in the title, of course. And we're going to kick off with probably the biggest matchup of the weekend, which is Arsenal versus Manchester City. And I will tell you one thing. It was something. This game was something, to be honest. Now, let's look at the stats before all of this. Yes, you look at his stats, and yes, the 33% stats, it's not an outlier. It is literally the lowest figure by a Pep Guardiola team in league history. And Arsenal did that to them. Arsenal literally come to play against Manchester City and decided we are not going to sit back. We are not going to let you dictate play. We're not going to do anything much. We're going to keep the ball and we're going to play out our game. And you're going to have to suffer. And they suffered. They did. Like even after Erling Haaland's goal, which was a beautiful pass by Tiana Reyners, and every single person just like, the two Arsenal players kind of like focused on Reyners, and then they forgot, oh yeah, I can just pass the ball to Erland, and Erland coolly, and I mean coolly finished like a cucumber, which is no surprise because of him. And everybody was thinking that, okay, Arsenal could fight back, right? We all know what Arsenal can fight back. Just look at the momentum in this game. It was literally all Arsenal from let's just call it the 26th minute until past halftime. And then came the changes, which I feel like it's a kind of a head scratcher to me. They decided that for Arsenal, in order for them to try to salvage something, they decided to take in Bukayo Saka. All right, fine. Saka came back. Big improvement of what was a team. And take out Noni Meduke, which is a. Me and my dad watched this game, and it's just like, what? I mean, dude, Meduke did fine in this game. It's just like you wanted to bring in Saka. I mean, okay, but I feel like Meduke should have done more in this game. But in the first half, let's be honest, Arsenal were attacking. They were having the ball. They were having their way against Manchester City, but they don't have the cutting edge, which is probably the one thing that really worries Arsenal, of course. I need to fix that door because if that wind might come in, I might knock the door in and create some noise. So please excuse me for a minute. I will talk about Arsenal's mishaps just a second. Right. So the thing that worries me so much about Arsenal is that for all their attacking style, for all their depth, for all these kind of stuff, it's these games against your Liverpools and even your Manchester Cities. And I think these are the two teams that, well, you can say City are not kind of in it earlier in the season, but Liverpool are. It's just those games. It just makes it feel like, if Arsenal could have been a little more ruthless, a little more have a killer instinct to be good in front of goal most of the times, that I think Arsenal could win the title. I believe they can win the title. I said it again, of course, before the season started. This is officially a no excuse season for Arsenal. If you cannot win the Premier League title with your best striker and your team with so much depth, then you cannot win the title at all. You just can't. And unfortunately, this is a game that pretty much screams of like, I think Arsenal have something, but it's just that they don't have like the instinct to do that, because we know what they're capable of when they beat Leeds. We know what they're capable of when, of course, they're going to face Newcastle, of course, next week, or this week, by the way. And they can't do it. It's just that your Liverpools, your Cities, and you can say all you want about Man United, those games matters. Those games matter to Arsenal. And if you cannot have the killer instincts to win because against the so far in like 5 games so far. I think we're in week 5, by the way. I just miscalculated, but we're in match day 5, and so far against the 3 big teams, Man United, Liverpool, and City, they only scored 2 goals. Kind of spoil the end, of course, because the second goal is going to come up way, 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 way down there. But so far, only 2 goals against the probably, let's call it the rich 6. We're not calling the big 6. We're calling the rich 6 in most cases. And that's a problem. And that's a problem. And if Arsenal wants to win the Premier League title, you got to be ruthless. They got to be ruthless. And they brought in Enrique Eze to try to make sure the ruthlessness come through. And I think you can say that those two kind of changed the matchup in most cases. Pep Guardiola got a real card, of course, for like all the embellishment in the down line. And they were probing. Donnarumma made some decent saves. They did make some chances, of course. They cut through. And then in the 80th minute, they keep making chances, and they hammer and all that home. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, Manchester City are not going to do anything much. They are bringing off, Haaland and Foden, and bringing in like Keita Aki and Nico Gonzalez to try to play defensively, of course. So Manchester City must be thinking, okay, we have to hold on to this 1-0 lead. But the way Arsenal have been playing right now, I just don't think we're going to score a second goal. And that is maybe a good thing for Manchester City, but also a bad thing if you're Manchester City. Because here we go, 93rd minute. A brilliant ball by Enrique Eze. Gabriel saw Donnarumma, decided to go pushing the line just a little bit in the box. Half he would have stayed in, and we all know Donnarumma is a good keeper. But half he would have stayed in. He could just easily stay that 9 times on his head. But because he pushed that ball, because he was pushed forward into the box, guess what? Gabriel Martinelli just like dunk it all over up top of Donnarumma and put it in for the equalizer off the post. And it's 1-1. And from that point, with the 7 minutes of stoppage time, I was thinking to myself, okay, Arsenal is going to win this game. Arsenal is going to win this game. And sadly, it did not, and it ends in a tie. 1-1 was the final score. And let's be brutally honest, I feel like it was an okay draw, to my opinion. I think the draw was okay for both teams. It feels like nothing losing. But consider, and we're going to get to Liverpool later, consider where Liverpool are right now, in which they have not played great, but still winning. It's pretty much difficult. It's early. It's an early season, by the way. The season is still young. It's only 5 matches. There's a long way to go. So I don't think the draw is going to be that damaging in the short term, but in the long term, it feels like Arsenal was nearly giving Manchester City defense. Like, look at the possession, 33% of the possession, but the XG, man, it is so disturbing. 80. I mean, look at the XG. Not even an XG of plus of 1 in its entire game, despite the fact that Arsenal have 12 shots. If we can just go further into the beyond the stats, just see. Yep, there you go. If we go further beyond the stats, they only have 3 shots on target. 12 shots the entire game, and 3 were on target, and 1 of them go to the net. And then 2 saves from Donnarumma. That, and look at this domination. It's all Arsenal. That's confused. That is frustrating because you have literally Manchester City, and albeit not a great Manchester City team, but you have Manchester City on the ropes, on the literal ropes, and they don't have the killer instinct to even go through and just beat them. And yes, you might win 2-1, and you might not play your best. But you gotta win these games. You gotta win these games against the big teams. Like, yes, congratulations, you beat Man United, but look at Man United right now. You didn't beat Liverpool, despite Liverpool not playing their A game right now at this point. And right now, you have Manchester City on the ropes. You have the team that you have not even beaten for so long on the ropes with the possession that you have. And yes, you managed to get a draw, which is fine. But it's going to leave a little bit of a sour taste for Arsenal. Now, it's a long season away, of course. I said it. They'll face off again in Etihad Stadium, and that's another bogey place that Arteta have not even won. And this may be a crucial match in the season come down the road. Right now, Arsenal needs to be consistent. They need to have a killer instinct to score goals, because goal difference could play a game, guys. Trust me, man. Your 2011, 2012 person knows what it feels like. He knows. It can come into play. And listen, it's not how you start. Of course, we all know that. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. It's how, the mantra says. So, right now, Arsenal is on to a decent start, which is fine. They have not conceded too much goals. They only they only conceded twice. One to a sub-side free kick, and another one to the Haaland goal. So, they have been good. So, defensively, they're fine. It's the attacking, especially on the big name teams, the big, strong teams. And they're not just Premier League, of course. It's Europe with your Real Madrids and your Barcelonas and PSG, who just absolutely tear Atalanta to shreds, by the way. That's a problem. That's an absolute problem for them. So I think the draw is fine for Arsenal and Manchester City, but there will be more questions about Arsenal rather than Manchester City because let's be honest, from the 9 minute onward when they scored a goal, City was not even in the game. City was not even in the game at this point. They were trying to get balls to Doku and Harlan, and it did not even work. So yeah, I think it's a pretty weird draw, to be honest. A pretty weird game, to be fair. Let's go to Man United and Chelsea. And let's just be honest, it was a relief victory. I mean, look at the weather conditions. It was a downpour at Manchester. Like, literally. I mean, they mentioned about the Manchester United roof, which is, by the way, leaky as hell. Like, let's be honest, I have a roof in my house and it's leaky as hell, but not as much. My house is pretty much known as a dry weather house because we normally have dry weather. Everything's fine, but when it rains, it's just not great. But give us a couple of months, all of that might sort out. But for now, at least our house is not as bad as Man United's house. It was disastrous in terms of the conditions. But in terms of results, holy cow, does Ruben Amorim need the result? And against, let's be fair, a Chelsea team they're okay. I think Chelsea are okay. They're an okay team, but just not like elevate themselves as like title contenders. Not as yet, of course. But this game is all about Man United. This game was literally all about Man United, and and honestly, and I'm gonna be brutally honest. This was the reason why Man United won the game. This was the reason why Man United won the game. I know. Akeem, just take the win. And listen, yes, I would take the win. I would take the win right now. We needed this so badly. But there's caveats in there. And just like we have the caveat with Burnley getting a win, it's the same thing with like the Chelsea game. And Sanchez decided to go Leroy Jenkins on that foul. It was pretty much obvious. Like, Robert Sanchez was it's a good keeper. He's a good keeper, but let's be honest, man. From I just say from the fifth minute, he decided to, Bernard makes a long clearance, and then Wembo comes in, races down through, and then unfortunately for Robert Sanchez, he kind of clankered him. That is A, denying a goal scoring opportunity, and B, you're the last man. So easiest decision in probably the referee's eyes to give a red card. And from there, I think you could say that Man United has been imposing in the game. And of all the people to score a goal, you're thinking to yourself, okay, maybe Wembo can score a goal. He's been decent. Cunha's got injured. Sesko he is not looking all right. Oh boy, it's another striker for Man United looking absolutely lost. Christ almighty. Nope. It is none of them. It is literally none of them. It's Casemiro. Actually, no. Sorry, no. That's Casemiro scoring the second goal. The first goal was scored by Bruno Fernandes. Maserati high in the post, and then Fernandes with a big header. And I believe that's a milestone goal for Bruno Fernandes. I believe that's a milestone goal for Fernandes. Let me just see if I can correct myself. Because I think it was a huge goal for Fernandes. And that was his 100th goal, by the way, for Man United. Can you believe it? Guy was, and I'm going to be brutally honest. You can say all you want about Bruno Fernandes' behavior and all kind of stuff. But for him to be the only shining light of Man United this entire dogged period, it's a testament to him. And a testament to, the way he's been playing, the heart on his sleeves, the pride and all kind of stuff. Now, I think a controversial question: is Bruno Fernandes going to be a legend at Man United? And I said, hell no, not with the way it's seen. But this is more of like, and I'm gonna say this a lot of controversial again. Have we sold Bruno Fernandes and wouldn't get the Saudi money? Maybe we could have fixed that midfield. Maybe. I don't know. I just don't know. Hindsight is 2020 these days. But Fernandes scored the goal, 14 minutes, and then Casemiro, yep, scored a goal in the 37th minute with a brilliant header by Harry Maguire of all people. So yeah, Casemiro scores by a header by assist by Harry Maguire. Yeah, that's a weird one. And even more weirder is this one. Casemiro getting sent off in the 45th minute. And yes, that's my tennis notification. I get it. But boy, oh boy, he got a yellow card, by the way, and it got sent off. I believe it's a historical fact that Casemiro is probably the first ever player in a long time to have a goal scored and being sent off in the same half in a long while. And yeah, for like the whole game, it was all hands on deck for United. Literally all hands on deck. Sesko's gone for Gate, of course. Then Cunha comes on for Maserati. Mount came in for Buemo. And Euro comes in for Maguire. Then Trevor Chabaloli scored from a Reece James assist from a header to make it 2-1 and make every single United fan looking absolutely nervous for the next 10 plus minutes. Thank goodness, no other scoring comes through. And United get a much, much needed win. Now, here's my honest truth. I do not think they're out of the woods yet. Here's the one thing that I'm going to say to you, Ruben Amorim, or probably the Man United fans who are watching this video and probably going to talk about it. Your team has to beat Burnley. And by the way, that's the very first game of Saturday and the very first game of the Premier League weekend calendar. And let us remind you, everybody, that Ruben Amorim has not won 2 games in a row since he became manager. Now, while this Chelsea win is huge, it is huge. It is massive. It is massive in the psyche of a Man United fan who are really feeling like they're going to be relegated, which, let's be honest, I don't think they're not, but it's that kind of mentality, of course. They need this win. But the problem with Man United in the last couple of years, and it's not just Ruben Amorim's team, it's been like this for like the rest of Man United's tenure with all these managers. Can you get me wins against your Burnleys, against your Sutherlands, which is the next 2 games, of course, before the national break, before Liverpool bind you? Can you do that? Can you absolutely get me those wins? Now, he's been consistent with the formation, which is, you know what? He's going to ride or die with the formation. You know what? I'm going to put my hands up and saying, if you want to ride with and die with the formation, be my guest. But right now, it's not helping you with get your wins. And even the dogs agree. They are pretty much angry at him. The dogs are literally angry at Ruben Amorim right now. He needs to get consistency. And this Chelsea game hopefully will be the start, not the pattern in most cases. So nothing much to say. I think nothing much to say about Chelsea other than Cole Palmer, being subbed off. Andrew Santos coming in. And wherever Cole Palmer goes, so do Chelsea. So that's rough. Now let's get to the earlier game, the first of our 3 big clashes, and Liverpool find a way to win another game. Scratch that, Liverpool won the game, but had to work very hard for it. And I mean, the headline pretty much said it. Cagey Merseyside Derby. Really cagey Merseyside Derby. And I watched I did watch the 2 highlights of the second goal. I watched the second half, in which everything were kind of bossing the game, of course. Liverpool did not do well in the second half, of course. Not holding possession, all kind of stuff. Jack Grealish was mostly in the game, of course. He was literally in the game. And let's be honest, I have everything with an equalize. I would have him as my player of the match if they were to go on and equalize. Like the Gay goal he made. No, actually, it wasn't him. But Idrissa Gueye scored to make it 2-1. Ali Manide. But before all of that, Gravenberg was the absolute man of the match. Salah with the assist, and then Gravenberg with 1-0, and then and the goal scorer provided assist to Hugo Ekitike. Trying to make it right. And by the way, Hugo Ekitike has been absolutely balled, except yeah, at the time of recording this, Liverpool did win their EFL Cup game, but unfortunately for Ekitike, God damn it, why am I pronouncing Hugo Ekitike? He took off his shirt, and unfortunately he got sent off. And because of rules, and it was a straight red card, EFL and of course the Football Association decided to suspend him for like the 3 games. Now I do not think it's gonna be that much, but he's gonna miss the Man United game at most, which I feel like it's a little stupid to me. It's a kind of little stupid to me. Not my words. Take their words from it. But he has been absolutely brilliant for Liverpool right now. A couple of games in, score a few goals, do what he needed to do. By the way, I mean we haven't seen like Isak in the fold yet as much. Although he did score a goal in that EFL Cup game that I mentioned, he did score a goal yesterday at the time of recording. So he, it's like everybody's getting their feet. Of course, Florian Wirtz. Sadly, he is not getting his feet wet, and this is pretty much. Let me just be brutally honest with Florian Wirtz. When he was in Bayer Leverkusen, he was the man, the provider, the most important player on this team. Now that he's in Liverpool, he has to be the facilitator, the helper, the supporting actor, if you wanted to say that, in movies, of course. And that'll be hard for him. That'll be really, really hard for him. And I hope he'll find his feet, because let's be honest, the different leagues kind of quote from Lane Kiffin is never going to go away. Not just in college football, but also in football as well. You're playing the Premier League football. This is not the kiddie club anymore. No disrespect to the Bundesliga, but you're in the hard leagues. We said that, of course, when you came here, of course, you have to play decent, good football for this Liverpool club. Otherwise, it might be fine in the bench. And trust me, once you're fine in the bench, everybody will talk about how much of a waste of money you are, and your mental is not going to be great. So I just want Florian Wirtz to do well. I just want this Florian Wirtz thing to work. It's going to be a hard time, but he might find a role. I hope Arne Slot will find a role. Yeah, so 2-1, nothing much to say other than Everton kind of dominate the game. From the second half onwards, I mean, look at the halftime. It was all Everton at some point, and then the goal scored by Gay. And it was kind of like an even-ish game for like the rest of the way until the end. And the XG, of course, the same thing with the Arsenal City game, in which the XG did not reach 1, despite the fact that Liverpool had to have all the shots, and they got 3 shots on target. Same thing with Arsenal, and although they got 1 more goal than Arsenal. But again, this is Liverpool finding a way to win another game. By hook or by crook, they are now 5 wins from 5 and are top of the table, and have not lost a game this season as of the time of recording. So they have not been easy, to be honest. But let's be brutally honest. Do you rather see a team win 5-0 and be incredibly ecstatic, or just win like your 2-1s, your 1-0s, and not be great, but still have the mentality to win? I'd rather have that, because to quote Tomjanovich from the Houston Rockets when he won their second championship, never underestimate the heart of a champion. And Liverpool are showing why in these games, when they're not at their best, are showing you guys the heart of a champion. And right now, yes, Arsenal are still in it, and maybe Chelsea are still in it, and maybe Manchester City are still in it. But if Liverpool were to find their A game, which they haven't done all season, they haven't done it yet. They haven't had that normal game that Liverpool have this season. But if they can find their normalcy, throughout the season, I think it's RIP to everything, to the title race, and pretty much RIP to all the Premier League title hopes. So, yeah, I think Liverpool are going to be fine. I think they need a normal game at once to not make the fans even nervous and make my dad nervous. So that is pretty much all I have to say about this game. Now it's time for us to round up the rest of the Premier League. Brighton-Tottenham. Brighton was up 2-0 by Mathieu and Ari by the 8th minute and 31st minute. And Richarlison scored the 43rd minute, in which Richarlison scored the goal off the keeper and go in. And then Van de Beek with the 82nd minute by an own goal. And then Tottenham escaped with a 2-2 draw. It's like Tottenham will never get Tottenham for the last couple of weekdays have never found like a clear-cut goal. Like, they won the game because of a goalkeeper mistake, and they got their 2 goals because of ricochets and own goals. It's like Tottenham will never be a normal team, no matter what they try. But for Thomas Frank to come from being absolutely beaten in the first half to be like they managed to fight and adapt, which is something different between Thomas Frank and Ruben Amorim, by the way. Adapt and managed to get a 2-2 draw away from a pretty tough Amex Stadium against a pretty tough Brighton team. It's pretty much not bad. It's pretty much not bad if you're a Tottenham supporter. So they only lost one game, and that's to Bournemouth. But right now, Bournemouth are in a higher facility. Oh, by the way, Bournemouth face up against Newcastle and welcome home Eddie Howe to the facilities. And history being made that all three of their away games have so far been goalless. Yes, Akeem. 3 of the 5 Newcastle games have ended in goalless. Now, the question is how historic that is. Well, let me just scroll down a little bit. Oh, okay. They became the first team in Premier League history to do so. Yeah, historical moment. 3 away games, 3 goalless draws, and that has never happened in the Premier League history until this weekend. And yeah, it's a troubling sight for Newcastle right now with the lack of goals they have and all kinds of stuff. And that is something I'm worried about in Newcastle right now, is that who will step in when Isak is gone. Now, I get Isak, burn your bridges and all kinds of stuff, but you need Waldemater, you need Will Wembam, yeah, of course. You need your goal scorers, of course. And that's going to be a trouble inside, of course, Newcastle. If your team is doing well at home but cannot do well away from home, especially they haven't even scored a goal away from home. That's the troubling thing. They've been drawing games, that's fine, but they haven't scored a goal from away from home. And that is bad. So, yeah, 0-0 draw, nothing much to say. Okay, I think there'll be some construction going on. There'll be some noise. So, let's just see if either A, I can pause for a couple of minutes, or B, I can talk more games. Burnley, Nottingham Forest. Let's just see if I can go this quickly. Williams with a second-minute goal, but unfortunately Burnley with a second 20-minute goal, of course. Postecoglou has not even won a game yet. And yes, Akeem, his team even lost to Swansea. Nottingham Forest were 2-0 up against Swansea in the EFL Cup and lose. Okay, Marinakis. When you hire Postecoglou and you're thinking it was a good idea, do you not even realize that your team have not even won a game? Like, your team is in more of a trouble now than it was with Nuno Espirito. And the more bad losses and the more bad results you have, the louder the voice will get to them. And it's not just the manager's going to be scrutinized. Oh, no. It'll be you, man. It'll be you. This is what happens when ownership decided to take over and becoming like bigger than themselves. Well, the chickens will finally come over the roost if that happens. Also, Burnley and Leeds have done well so far. Look at them. Leeds United 3-1 over Wolverhampton, and my goodness gracious, Pereira is not having a good time. Although they did beat Everton in the EFL Cup, of course, he is not having a good time. He is literally straight up not having a good time. If you are a Wolves supporter, after all the good feels you have last season, at the end of the season, it is coming to crap. But for Leeds, my God, what a win for them. A dominated win. Dominic Calvert-Lewin with the goal. Yes, former Everton player Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Then Anton Stech. Then Noah Okafor. All in the first half. And they managed to hold on and beat Wolves 3-1. And it's not just Burnley or Leeds doing well. It's Sunderland. Oh my God. Akeem, is this going to be the first ever time in a long time that we see the promoted teams actually be decent? My oh my. Now, it did not help that Ronaldo decided to get a red card in the 33rd minute, and then Cash scored the very first Aston Villa goal in the Premier League this season, although they did score a goal in the EFL Cup for their first overall goal in the Premier League season, a loss to Brentford. Yeah, they did lose to Brentford in the EFL Cup. Whoop-de-doo. And Sunderland decided to fight back. They fought back with 10 men. They have the more XG, by the way. Shocker. And they fought back really hard to get a 1-1 draw by Wilson Isidore. by an assist by, yes, Granit Xhaka. He exists, ladies and gentlemen. And Sunderland get a point. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you look at the table, which, by the way, actually, we're not going to look at the table. Let's just go through the results. Fulham beat Brentford, ladies and gentlemen. Fulham beat Brentford. And while Brentford are okay in the EFL Cup standings and all kind of stuff, it is not looking good for the new manager. Like, let's be brutally honest. You're replacing the long, stabilized personnel of Thomas Frank for a brand new manager who is just finding his feet in the Premier League, and it's going to be hard. It's like you're replacing Bruce Pearl from Auburn into your son in a SEC conference when, let's be honest, SEC basketball is going to be hotter than Hades this year. It's tough. It's really tough. But I hope Brentford will survive or thrive, I guess. As Iwobi with a goal, Wilson, of course, who, by the way, actually scored those. Actually, he was the one who scored those 2 goals last season when these two teams met at home the last time they met in that Monday night game. And then Pinnock with a away goal, canceling out the damn scar 28-minute goal. And Fulham with a much, much, much needed win. A huge win, of course. A huge win for Fulham, trying to pop those standards and trying to get them good vibes back, of course. And finally, West Ham versus Crystal Palace. Now, here's a little programming note, by the way. Crystal Palace will face off against Liverpool. By the way, if you notice that this is a rematch of the last game of the season and the EFL and the Community Shield, in which, surprise, surprise, Crystal Palace won. Just to keep that mental note, of course. And Crystal Palace they're doing fine. They're doing fine in Europe. Although I think Europa League is going to play in tomorrow at the time of recording. So yeah, I think by the time of recording, Crystal Palace will play their first game in the Europa Conference League, not the Europa League. I've already beat that thing to a dead horse, of course. I think everybody's beating down to the dead horse. But Crystal Palace are doing okay. They're doing okay, and Matete is doing okay, scoring the goal. Mitchell is doing well. Let's see how my boy Gahey is doing. Gahey's doing great. Almost an 8. As a captain, he's doing solid. Although conceding the goal did not help. But 7.9, he's doing hard work, man. He's doing hard work. He's going to get that big contract move to Liverpool down the road. And unfortunately, it did not help that Jared Bowen becoming the only good savior of that team, scoring a goal, only to Tyreek Mitchell to score in the 68th minute, and that was that. Crystal Palace won, and it's not looking good for Potter in these cases because if we look at the Premier League table at the moment, they are 19th and bottom with Wolverhampton, who has not even got a point. And oh, look at that. You're facing Tottenham next. Marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. Aston Villa will take on Aston Villa, who are on 3 points, occupy the relegation spots. Brentford, Burnley, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle and Brighton, Leeds and United and Everton occupy the top 10. The bottom 10, of course. Everton, Manchester City, Fulham, Sunderland. Yes, Sunderland in the top 7 of the Premier League. In the year of our Lord, September 2025. I'm just looking back and just saying, what? Yeah. Sunderland are in top 7. Crystal Palace are in it. Then Chelsea and Crystal Palace. Son is going on right now. So I have to wrap this up. Bournemouth, Tottenham, Arsenal, and then Liverpool by a healthy 5-point margin. Early lead, but it's a healthy margin, of course. Okay, that should do it for the Premier League portion of the show. And I think we have time to look at the Ballon d'Or winners from this Monday. And then my little thoughts about it. And then we look at some other soccer-related stuff. So I'll pause this for about a minute and then come back to you with some other results. Give me 1 minute. Well, welcome back, everybody. And here's the concern. Well, there's 2 concerns, actually. The hammering that's going to make a pretty much big noise, and my battery is pretty much about to finish. So it is time for me to skedaddle quickly into the rest of the things that make the forts. Unfortunately, no absolute cinema of the match this week, and unfortunately, we have 3 more days until the next Premier League, so it's get them happen. So let's look at the championship, and let's give the other league some love. In the championship so far, you got Sheffield United, Oxford United, and Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah, the 2 Sheffield clubs are in the bottom 3. That's sad. And Derby, County, and Watford in there. You got Wrexham, who's in 15th. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Reynolds' Wrexham is just finding it really hard in the championship. Who knew? In the top six, the playoff positions are Coventry, Preston North End, Leicester City, and Bristol, and Stoke City and Middlesbrough are now in the top two. Over in League One, you got Burton, Albion, Peterborough, Blackburn, and Blackpool and Rotherham United occupy the bottom four. Reading, Port Vale, Wigan Wanderers, Plymouth Argyle, Exeter City, Northampton Town, Leighton Orient, and Mansfield, Wigan Athletic, and Luton Town, and Bolton. And in the playoffs, of course, you got AFC Wimbledon, Stockport County, and Doncaster Rovers. And then by goal difference, of course, Barnsley and Huddersfield occupy the playoffs positions. Also, there's Cardiff City and Lincoln Town, Silicon City, and Stevenage and Bradford City occupy the top two. Meanwhile, in the League Two, Gillingham are the only undefeated team of pretty much all the league. Salford is right behind them, followed by Walsall and Swindon Town. In fact, Walsall is 1 point ahead of Swindon Town in terms of the playoff position. Grimsby, Chesterfield, and Notts County are occupying the top two. And Shrewsbury and Cheltenham are down at the bottom two, in which the bottom two was going to the National League, which is the non-league conference. So, a little bit of, non-Premier League football to just advertise you. Maybe I'll do this monthly, of course. Getting into speed all goes on because the championship is going to be really important. And there's some news about the championship, of course, in which they're going to expand the playoffs from 6 teams to pretty much 8. Now, that might have a knock-on effect on like the rest of the leagues, like your League 1 and League 2. But if approved, the semifinals and finals is not going to change. But the additional matches and revenue and all kinds of stuff will be kind of huge, but skepticism, most of the fans and traditionalists, as many people said. But in a world that we need more football and everything like that, especially with the FIFA decided to do 64 teams for 2030, yes, that might be a real thing. I think we have to just give in, I guess. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the most important segment of the show, the Ballon D'Or, ladies and gentlemen. And let's get to the main one, of course. It's that Ousmane Dembele is the Ballon d'Or winner, which is gigantically not a surprise. Lamine Yamal's second place, and he's given like a deadpan reaction. At least he showed up for the whole thing, not like Vinny Jr. decided to bolt out when he realized he didn't win last year. So at least he just showed up and just accepted the award like a, how do I say this? Like a decent human being. Vitinha third, Mo Salah, who everybody thought was raw, but I just don't think so. I think Mo Salah was great until like he fell off, of course, in the Champions League and kind of fell off the rest of the season, so he didn't do that much. And I think I have a video, of course, down. I'll put this video down in the description. I talk about probably the value of the Ballon d'Or in terms of like, is the best? Are we judging the best players based on performance, or are we judging the best player based on trophies and stats, and the value and all kinds of stuff? So I'll put them down below. But for now, Rafinha top 5, Hakimi 6th, Kylian Mbappe 7, Cole Palmer 8, Donnarumma 9th, and Nuno Mendes 10th. Yes, that is 3 PSG players and a couple of Premier League players in the top 10, but nothing too much to oversee Ousmane Dembele. Which, let's be honest, I think Ousmane Dembele deserved to win that award by a country mile. Well, not a country mile, but more like a pretty good stat. And by transfer market, you can see how he was, probably the main man. 51 goals and assists in the all top 5 leagues, which is second to Kane, to Salah, to Rafinha. And he won all the 4 trophies. His market increased by plus 30 million euros, which is he's going to be absolutely rich beyond belief. Absolutely rich beyond belief. And if you look at the value, 90 million euros. That's amazing. Now, in terms of Frenchmen actually winning, he joined Raymond Kopa, Michel Platini, Jean-Pierre Papin, Zinedine Zidane, and Karim Benzema just a few years ago. And yes, while you say that Ousmane Dembele he got less, of course, in goals and assists, his overall play, let's be brutally honest, his overall play towards PSG, helping them win the treble, or in this case, the quadruple in their eyes, it can never be overstated. Like the guy can play like offense and then play some little midfield. He could be contributing. He could be contributing in the defense. Of course, he can do both foots. He is the ultimate package, and I believe that. That's a Michael Jackson song, of course, just being played, of course, in the stands. I believe that he's probably the most deserving winner of this award. Now, you can say that some players maybe get robbed, like Lamine Yamal should have deserved more. But listen, Yamal is gonna have a time coming. His time will come. In fact, he won the Copa Award for the best young male player. So at least he got that going, of course. For the female is Vicky Lopez of Barcelona. And let's get to all the awards, of course. The Johan Cruyff best female coach goes to Serena Wangman. And I'm gonna say this right now. Serena Wangman is pretty much the best football coach in probably the world right now. She's probably the best female women's coach. Like, look at what she has done. European, like she won four European championships. I think three European championships. One with Netherlands and two with England. FIBA Best Coach Awards, and then Women's Coach of the Year in 2022. Won the finale in Lisma, of course, with England, and then the Johan Cruyff Award. Holy Jesus! And by the way, she finished second place in the World Cup to Spain in the World Cup. Like I tell you what, Serena Wangman is going to be an absolute legend of a coach right now, and for England right now, who's stuck in soccer is mostly the male, of course. For the England women to win 2 European tournaments back to back and to do something that no England team has ever done, to win that tournament away from home, it's a huge deal. Especially with the WSL. By the way, the WSL is still going on right now. I may want to talk about WSL. I may want to talk about it, but it'll be soon. That's a huge deal. That's a huge deal right now. So England right now, you may have a keeper for not saying for years to come. You may have a keeper for years to come. And with the talented players they have in their disposal, I tell you what, guys, I'm going to say this right now, and it's going to age so poorly, or it's going to age like fine wine. But I believe that England are going to win the World Cup. And no, unfortunately, the men, I don't think so. But I think the England woman is going to win the World Cup. I think Spain right now have so many problems. We don't know about Brazil. We don't know about. I think Europe is going to be a little bit stronger to probably win the World Cup. But I believe with that consistency and the coach they have, and by the way, England have won games even though they have not been their best. Look at the finals, of course, against Spain. They always find a way to win. They got the mentality, they got the veterancy, they got the coach to do it, and I believe that she is going to lead this England team to a World Cup win. So I'm saying it, Hakeem. England, she's going to bring England back home. She's going to bring them home, ladies and gentlemen. It is coming home to England, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to bring the World Cup home. So, that is all that jazz. Now, let's get to the rest of the awards. And the male coach goes to Luis Enrique. Now, beside the whole crappiness, of course, in the FIFA Club World Cup final, what he has done to PSG is amazing. And Ligue 1, Copa de France, Trophy de Champions, those titles are pretty much going to be handed to you like a silver platter. And then the Champions League is kind of like this icing on the cake. And let's be honest, PSG were like the best team in Europe from second half Manchester City onwards. And they had little bumps in the road, of course. The Arsenal game was not easy, and then the City game was not easy, and you can say Liverpool was not easy as well. But what he has done with his team, and just transform a team that it was all glitz and glamour and star-studded with Ramos and Messi and Neymar and all kinds of stuff, to a hard-working, rigid 11 team that can just literally beat almost everybody. Well, I said almost everybody because at the time when the awards take place, Marseille, for the first time in 5 years, just beat PSG. Yeah. And by the way, they have Vitinha and Hakimi and Mendes, of course. They had the big players, of course. But it almost feels like PSG were just kind of not in it. Just let's be honest, kind of not in it. But if you're a Marseille fan, you just beat your rivals for the first time in post-COVID. So you gotta take that what you will. But back to Luis Enrique, I think he has done so much wonders for this PSG team, and it's just not just on the field. that he has been making an impact. It's off the field as well. As you all know, the Zaina Foundation just won the award for the Socrates Award for the best social engagement. And as you all know, his daughter Zaina sadly passed away, of course, a couple of years ago. And for anybody who don't know, she was the one who planted the flag, of course, when Luis Enrique was coaching Barcelona. Now, many people do not know it at the time, but she was really, really sick. I don't know about the personal story, but I'm just gonna go with the cliff notes, of course. And they decided that in order to help so many children, with sickness and all kinds of stuff, they decided to make the foundation, the Zaina Foundation, in honor of her name. And they have a pretty weirdish logo, but a pretty cool logo nonetheless. And yeah, if you want, I will link the description of the foundation below. So if you really wanted to help those children and really wanted to help it out, please go to the foundation and just, help these children out. Because as Whitney Houston said in her song, the children are our future, guys, and we need to protect them and all that stuff. So there's that. PSG, best club male team in the world. Arsenal, best female club team in the world. I think I added all, winning Champions League and all that stuff. The Yashin Trophy Award, which is the best female goalkeeper, goes to Hannah Hampton for Chelsea, who is absolutely brilliant, leading Chelsea to another dominant season, and then, of course, being the face of England, winning the World Cup. Then the Yashin Trophy Award for the best male, Gianluigi Donnarumma, for his work, of course, with the Champions League award for the Champions League. And I gotta say this right now, he's probably the best keeper in the world, hands down. No offense. And then the Gerard Muller Award is going for the best male and female striker, Vicky Gyökeres, no surprise there, and Iwan Pajar from Barcelona. Okay, and then we get to the top 10 in the women's, and she was in number 8. Hannah Hampton for Chelsea, number 10. Lucy Bronze, 9. Leah Williamson from Arsenal, 7. Patricia Gurjo from Barcelona, 6. Chloe Kelly, who, by the way, was at Manchester City and then moved to Arsenal. It was like the best move, of course. Went on to win the Champions League, was a keystone in the Champions League victory. And, of course, England, of course. I think she scored the penalty winner, of course. I think she did. She's on number 5. Alexa Putellas, considered one of the best women's players, of course, from Barcelona, number 4. Alicia Ruscio from Arsenal, 3. Marina Calenti, Arsenal 2. But Etana Bonatti, who is now officially the 3-time best player by female stand, 3-time best female player, is number 1. And I think she deserves a lot of accolades. Again, my knowledge of women's soccer and women's sports is not as great, but when you realize you won this tournament, won this trophy 3 years in a row, it is something to behold. It is something to admire and something to behold. So, that is all that jazz about the Ballon d'Or. Congratulations to Bonmati and Osama Dembele. His mom, by the way, was in the audience, and he gave us the real MVP kind of speech, of course, about his mom. So shout out to all the moms out there, the soccer moms, my mom, of course, who's probably watching this YouTube, so thanking me for giving me support of making me do what I wanted to do and give me the freedom to do. So love you, Mom. Anyways, I think that should conclude all that stuff. But I think it's time for us to look forward to next week's Premier League games. So, round 5 is over. Onwards to round 6. And as you can see, Man United is going to need to win another game away from home against let's be honest, a rebuilding Brentford, of course. Chelsea versus Brighton is going to be an interesting game. Crystal Palace Liverpool is an interesting game as well. I already mentioned about the history between these two teams. Leeds AFC Bournemouth, Man City versus Burnley, Nottingham Forest versus Sunderland, and Tottenham versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. A little history legend between these two teams, because these two teams, back when they were like the best teams in the world, competed for the very first Europa League finals. Now, if I were to May, let's see. Let me just see if I get this right. I think it was Wolves Tottenham in the very first Europa League finals. Yes, they do. 3-2 against Wolves in the aggregate scoreline in 1972. And by the way, Europa League is coming up after this recording. So a little history lesson, of course. And that's a huge game for Wolves. I think Wolves need to win more than Tottenham. I mean, Tottenham needs to win to get themselves up, but Wolves need to win. Wolves need to win back. Aston Villa Fulham will be the first game on the early state, and then Newcastle Arsenal. I think Arsenal have to go from playing one state's team to another state team. Just a little funny. They have to face Newcastle, and Newcastle gonna be a really tricky team, especially at home. So it's not gonna be easy for Arsenal, and they need a win. They need a bounce back win because Liverpool will have another tough assignment. But let's say Liverpool will find a way to win. This is officially a must win for Arsenal. This is officially a must win for Arsenal. And then we get the David Moyes derby. Is current Everton manager facing against the team that he coached them to a Europa Conference League finals or Conference League win way back when West Ham have some good times. Unfortunately, they have some rough times right now. And it's not good when Everton is going to, and you're traveling to Everton, by the way, and facing your former manager, by the way. And that game will be the Monday night Pete Martin Tyler game, by the way. So in case everybody don't know it, Martin Tyler is one of the most hallmark commentators who used to do work in Sky Sports and all kind of stuff. And he used to do the big games. He was the one who bring on the Aguero goal back in 11-12 in the Sky Sports broadcast, and he's a respected commentator and all kind of stuff. So whenever there's a Monday night game of like not so great significance in some cases, we always bring up like the Martin Tyler game. So this is officially the Martin Tyler game. Everton West Ham on Monday night is the Martin Tyler game, and that should conclude the Premier League Week 6, and that should conclude the Premier League review and the other stuff. Strange week, but hopefully and not much big games, although you can say that Newcastle Arsenal is a big game. You know, Liverpool Crystal Palace is a big game. Chelsea Brighton is a big game. Leeds Bournemouth surprisingly look like a big game. Who would have thought? But big games are happening in the Premier League this weekend, and you know all that stuff. So thank you all for watching. Sorry about the disturbance with the saws and everybody else, house being fixed and all kind of stuff. If you subscribe to this channel, hopefully, get all of this done. By the grace of God and everybody else, we will get this done. So thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to this video, and I'll see you all next time.